Hello, everyone, and welcome to Writing Our Own Story, Small Business Life at StoryForge. And you might be asking yourself, who's StoryForge? And if this is your first episode, that's fair. We're a small business startup who's trying to revolutionize the publishing industry. Through we have a platform that's reading, writing, editing, gamified actions. Come join, get feedback on your writing, uh, build your own library, get a cute little pets. It's all based around community. We really hope you'll come and join us. If you haven't already, please check us out at storyforge.com. And if you'd like to get a free account, you can get an additional 50 free quills, which is our on-platform currency, by using the referral code podcast. Now, my name is Tim, and I will be your host today. Apologies, I am a little under the weather, but our episode about, taking it easy when you're sick hasn't come out yet, so that's fine. I am the Senior Director of Operations and Project Management here at StoryForge. Joining me today are Rosetta, who is our social media associate, Beatrice, who is our Senior Director of Marketing, and our CEO, co-founder, and fearless leader, Sabrina.
Woo!
So we're just going to dive right into it. The main topic today is AI. It is one of the most polarizing topics kind of in the world at the moment, not even just in the literary space, in the world. If you're not in the StoryForge Discord, our Discord is going nuts right now, discussing AI and how some people feel it's okay to write with it. And we here at StoryForge, we do not use generative AI. We do not condone the use of generative AI when it comes to writing. So I'm going to hand it off to someone who can speak more eloquently than me. Um, Explain why Gen AI is bad.
Wow, that's hard. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Uh
loaded question.
um I am not the most eloquent person ever, so I will do my best. A lot of the Discord that appears online is just people saying that AI is bad because it steals without really explaining where that stealing is coming from or why that's stealing. And it's because it's AI in and of itself is a machine, it's like a machine learning model. I think that's how it's called. That it trains on things that already exist in order to like repurpose the data and put it out in a different way. That's kind of like the training that it does. A lot of the ways that most of the like AIs that are being used nowadays have been trained have been with things that have just existed around the internet without any discrimination if the person that created the type of art, be it like physical like visual art being written or text being whatever, gave their authorization on their art being used in that specific way. And particularly the issue that I have with that is that it's not the same way that a person would learn or like would train to write or would learn how to do art or stuff, because it's data that is being processed and then data that is being output. There's not really a thinking involved. There's not really anything that has any type of intention on creating their own thing from scratch. And I have I got my copy of Feel Like an Artist here. And it's doing exactly the opposite of this book. It's stealing not like an artist, but like a
Yeah.
thief. And we have a post about it on Instagram. It takes the intellectual property of whoever, like whatever it has access with, to. I cannot speak today because I'm so riled up because we're talking about it and I almost cried. Yay! It takes intellectual property of people that did not give permission and then use it the as however it wants without really respecting that art.
So would it be fair to say, kind of a shortened version of that is, if you read something by someone else and are inspired by it, you're not going to replicate that exactly. The
Exactly.
the human creativity part of it is you will create something different. AI is going to take that and basically replicate that exact tone, possibly that exact story. Um, is that I think that's probably a concise way to put it. Does anyone disagree?
I am not a very concise person, so I appreciate that.
I
Thank you.
got you.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I think that is one of the biggest issues with it because I've seen people train AI to be a specific, like if we're thinking from an art perspective, like a specific artist's art style, so like a Da Vinci AI. And that also goes for writing in the sense that you could in theory train an AI on one person's writing style and make like a Stephen King AI and just have it without his permission, and that is genuinely really scary.
Well, I think that one of the things that's so dangerous and especially harmful to artists now is that the way that the AIs are operating doesn't involve any kind of consent
Yeah,
in taking artist data. It doesn't involve any credit once the artist data has been used, and it doesn't involve any payment for the use of the artist's work. So that's like three big red flags. And I think honestly, the technology around AI, it's kind of cool. The issue is that it's not being used ethically. And I think that's part of why our community is going, insane on the Discord now, is that it can be really scary to put a lifetime of work into developing your skills as a writer, as an artist, and then feel like it's completely invalidated. Someone can just take everything that you've become and worked for and then recycle it into something worse that they could never have become without your effort, and you don't get any credit for it.
that's perfect.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the major social media platforms have leaned into it, like Facebook, Instagram. I don't remember. I don't think TikTok did. I don't remember, but like they've basically said, "Hey, we're going to scrape the stuff that you put on our platform and use it to train our AI," which is kind of horrifying and probably why we are seeing a number of people depart the Meta platforms. Um, so what do we do about it? What can be done about it? Like AI is everywhere. Like Samsung has a fridge coming out that has Gen AI in it. Like it's included
For
in
what?
every. I don't
Why?
know.
Wait,
What
sorry,
is
what
the
is that
fridge going
fridge
to
doing?
do?
I
Is
don't
my
know.
fridge gonna like find recipes for me?
I assume so, but I mean, I
Generate
don't know.
recipes for you
Yeah,
It's
like
based on its scan of the food
it
in your
just
fridge.
people
That's
are
really
so
cool, but
hell
also very weird.
yeah.
people are so hell bent on sticking AI into everything. Like and quite frankly, we are kind of the exception to that at this point. Like we're very vocal that we're not going to add generative AI to the Storyform platform. We don't condone it. We don't use it. Um, what do we do about it? Can we as people, not just we as a company, can we as people do anything about it?
I feel like one of the things to do about it is to be vocal about it, to explain why it's unethical, not to the people that do not care, but to the people that maybe don't know a lot about it. Because I think that there's three types of people on this thing: people that understand why this use and why everything that is surrounding this and like the whole unethical aspect of it is the people that use it and pretty much understand that they just literally do not care. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that because I'm trying not to curse too much in the podcast. Or people that are kind of like in the in between, that they're not really sure. They could be leading to one side or the other one, but they don't really know what it is about. And I think that's what we should aim to help explain as best as we can, hopefully way better than me, why it's unethical, why it's a problem, and why this needs to be regulated and changed. And I think that if we unite the people that don't know yet with the people that understand why it's unethical, it's going to become a bigger group of people than the people that they just don't give a fuck, honestly.
Well, and
And
I
we
think
will be able to push for regulation. You can go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I thought you were done. My bad. Oh, and I think that one of the things that I've learned from my parents don't know a lot of stuff. And that's fine. They're not super internet savvy people. And so, they're not super like into current culture. And so when something comes up that they don't understand, they ask me about it. And I've found that the best way to get them to understand that information is to give them facts and to give them proof. And I think, any aggressive approach we take, any like, overly fluffy approach that we take isn't going to work. But if we are just honest and unbiased and we're like, hey, here's what this is doing, right? How is AI harming the environment, or how is AI stealing, and what does AI stealing look like, and what does it do? And we're just honest about that. We end up getting better results. And so being kind of just like, we can be anti AI without being really aggressive about it. We can just be like, look, here's the proof as to why we have our stances, and being kind of, you know, calm and honest rather than like, super AI is the worst ever and all this stuff, really helps people who are on the fence feel less scared to kind of agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the kind of action that you could take as an individual person depends a lot on who you are as an individual person. Like, for example, I have a friend in law. She's studying IP, and she has a lot of really strong feelings about AI and the rights of artists. She's going to have a completely different set of things that she can do as a result of being, talking with lawyers all the time, going into courts, creating different kinds of legislation. I don't know all that she does. If there are any lawyers listening and I got that wrong, don't come for me. I'm not a law person.
Your
Um,
friend creates all the laws in the world.
My friend creates all the laws, but my point is that she'll have access to the kind of people who are making those actual legislation changes, those policies, and she has a total skill set that, I mean, I would have to study for years and years and years to even get close. Um, and so the kind of things that she can do to really combat this kind of dangerous situation with AI are going to be way different than, like Beatrice, who has a really strong social media presence and like a lot of like really great followers who are like here to yeah, you holding up your phone, who are here to like listen to the journey of like an indie author and like hear about your struggles in publishing. So for Beatrice, it would be more of like talking about it and educating about it. Um, and then for Rosetta, I feel like the description of talking with your parents and like making it simple to understand and presenting the facts as they come up. These are all different things that people can do in different ways based on what they who they are as an individual person. We all have different skills we can bring.
You
Love
I
that.
feel
forgot
like
to
I have to
mention
end with like
yourself.
friendship is magic.
No,
Well,
but you forgot to
myself,
mention yourself, yeah, because you're doing a lot too.
yeah, well, myself is running a company that's dedicated to creating a safe space for
Yeah!
creatives.
That's
Uh,
not
Yay!
easy. Give yourself credit for that.
yeah. Um, so yeah, but there's a lot of different ways that you can rise up, and I feel that a lot of times the advice is just like, yeah, be loud or be angry or whatever, and that doesn't help because not everyone is loud or angry, you know? But that doesn't mean that what you're doing doesn't matter.
If someone doesn't want to be loud or angry, they can contact me
Hmm.
individually, particularly. They can ask me to be loud and angry. I will be loud and angry for them. Don't worry.
I mean, I think it was it Teddy Roosevelt who said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Like I
Yeah,
think
Yeah, I
that's
yeah.
kind of
think
what we're
that's
Yep.
talking
right.
about. You speak softly, but you got the facts to back it up.
Yep.
Um, so here's a question. Why is Gen AI so prevalent in the writing and publishing communities? Like, I don't think I'm going to shatter any brains here when I say that publishing is not like a get rich quick scheme. Like, unless you are, you know, uh, you know,
Famous.
famous, like you market yourself like crazy on book talk. You, it's not something like, oh, you write a book and then you put it out there and it becomes a New York bestseller. Like, there's so much to it. Like, why are all these like, we were talking about the one today in our Slack. Blanking on the name. Was it Squibbler?
I think so.
Yeah, they're like, oh, do it in like an hour instead of a day. And we're like, or do it in a
Why would you?
yeah, generate a book
Yeah.
instantly instead of write it over a year. It's like, well, because writing is enjoyable. But like who's that marketed to? Why are these people doing that? Because you're not gonna make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this.
I think it's marketed towards the people who think publishing is a get rich quick scheme. Because there's a statistic, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's like, you know, like 80% of people in the world want to write a book. Only 50% will actually go through with the planning, and then it gets smaller and smaller. Those aren't the exact numbers, but you get the idea. It gets smaller and smaller until it's like only 10% of people who want to write a book actually publish their book. But people with Gen AI are like, oh, actually, we can make this way easier and we can get that up to that 80% if we market our tools that way. And so I think that it's targeted towards people who genuinely don't understand the time and care and attention that writing a good story needs. And that creates a lot of problems for creatives because now that gives us a bad rep, and it kind of forces us to have to be, bigger and better, and also compete with AI, which is really hard to compete with because we can't just keep pumping out books like crazy. There are some authors that are crazy like that, but most of us aren't, and most of us don't have the time or the energy or the money, and so companies think that they can be like, look at this super cool new tool that can just make whatever you want right now, and you're like, yeah, but it doesn't make the quality I want. It doesn't make the ideas fleshed out. And sometimes it's really obvious that it's AI and people genuinely hate it.
Well, I think too that like writing is such a very personal thing. When you're putting your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, sometimes you put your own personal experiences onto the page. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Beatrice. Um, and that means that when it gets edited or someone looks over it and is like, this wasn't good, you need to change this dialogue, or your writing wasn't clear, whatever. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a critique. It feels like, oh, you're coming at me, like me personally. That's my soul that you're nitpicking. And with AI, you don't have to worry about that. You didn't put your heart and soul into it. You just have a bunch of text. So when someone comes at it and says, edit this, I I don't think it's quite as personal. It doesn't feel as gut-wrenching, which unfortunately means it's also not going to pack as much of an emotional punch for the readers. But if you're not the kind of person who takes rejection very well, I could see how AI would be very tempting.
I think I
I
have a good anecdote for that really quickly. In my in a poetry class that my friend was in last semester, they had to write um 3 poems. Two of them had to be written by AI. One of them was written by the person. It was a guessing game as to which poem was written by a person. Now, I had 2 friends in this class actually. One of them wrote their own poem, and there were certain requirements it had to fill, so they were like similar in style. And then they had the AI write the other 2, and they didn't edit the ones by the AI. Immediately, everyone knew which poem was theirs. My other friend, who thought the assignment was to edit the poems written by the AI, edited their poems, all of them, and no one could tell which one was the actual humans. And so they told me that they ended up changing the answer to the one that the everyone thought it was, which was written by AI, but heavily edited and changed by them. And so that was a hard rejection for them to take because they knew that the AI had actually written the poem. But I was like, yeah, but you changed the poem so much. I'm like, didn't you basically rewrite it? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, at this point, it's 90% your poem. But also, I completely understand where that, like, still that the people you thought you could trust in your class to know it was actually human made couldn't. And so I think that really goes with what you were saying, Sabrina, with how, rejection is a lot harder when you actually put a lot into what you are doing.
And I think
Uh,
uh, I think a quote, Beatrice, you sent me this a little bit ago. I think a quote that really sums up all of this. If it's not worth writing, it's not worth reading.
yep,
Yeah, you can't
that's
put
so
forth the
true.
effort to actually write a story. All you're gonna do is put in a 200 word prompt and churn out 60,000 words. Like, I'm not reading that. You didn't spend any time on that.
I also think, like for a more like logistics, like marketing perspective, like reason on like why all of these companies are trying to like market AI towards book writing so much. And I wrote it down so I didn't forget because ADHD is because unfortunately we live in a society that a society that seems time as currency. And writing a book, how I said, as we said before, and the same thing with any other type of art, really, is very, very time consuming. It also drives people nuts. Haha, me. And it's something that requires a lot of effort. But it's marketed for not for the people that want to put their story out there, in my opinion. For the people that want to create worlds, for the people that have an entire reality inside of them and they want to share it with the world. Is marketed for the people that like to hear their own voice and they're sad because they never got into a TEDx talk and they're like, oh, maybe if I can churn out as many things I can with my name, people are gonna think I'm cool and I'm gonna make money of it. Because the majority, this is obviously there's many people in the world and I don't like generalizing, but the majority of the people that are extremely vocal on supporting Gen AI for book writing to the point that it's like absolutely nonsensical and they physically say fuck you to authors like in social media, like that kind of energy is the same kind of people that say writing books is stupid. Look at how easy I can do it. You guys suck because you have to spend so much time on it. So they really like it's not authors. They see books as a product that could either get them money, either get them fame, or either can get them some sort of like fictitious idea of like grandiosity for having so many things out there with their own name, even if it's garbage, even if it doesn't give them money, because it like people, and I have seen so many like videos of like people trying to go down this thread and everything that's like, let's churn out 25 AI books in a week and they make 2 cents out of the 25 books because it's absolute garbage and it's because it like no one reads it anyway. But it's not marketed, in my opinion, to the author, the person that is passionate about storytelling. It's marketed to the people that don't take writing seriously, that they think is like a silly thing to do. And
I
a lot
have
of people think that.
I have an anecdote related to that actually. I was meeting with a like a marketing agency of sorts at one point trying to work on like personal brand. As CEO, that's one of the things you're always told is like develop your personal brand. You have to have a voice so people know who you are and they want to listen to you. And we had a conversation. It was going pretty well. And during the conversation, the representative, he was saying like one of the things you've got to do is write a book. I'm like, okay, like tell me more, because like I'm in publishing. And he's like, yeah, you put a book out there, any hack can put a book out there, and then people will think you're important because you have a book. And I was like, okay, like I'm listening skeptically, but keep going. And then he hands me a book that was written by the CEO of his company. And I'm like, you just told me that any hack can write a book to look professional. And then you handed me this book written by your boss. Like, do you see the irony?
Wow.
And he did not. I still have the book. I haven't opened it. It's just sitting in my apartment.
That's just really, really funny. It shows how much people don't take writing seriously, if I'm honest.
So speaking of the marketing aspect of this, like with the market becoming more and more flooded with AI generated slop, if you will, it actually makes it harder for an actual author or artist to stand out now. Like, we've heard from people that like It's literally a witch hunt. They're like, oh, I wrote this. I'm like, no, you generated this with AI. You generated this with AI. And like we had someone in our Discord who was just saying like he got called out for generating a map. Uh, no, he literally traced northern Italy, and he's like, no, this is literally a real map. So how does that impact reading and writing work? Now, not only do you have to market your stuff, you have to constantly defend yourself against people who, quite frankly, wanted to write a book, couldn't, and then also couldn't figure out how to do it with Gen AI. Maybe I'm
I think
compartmentalizing. Maybe I'm just annoyed and on cold medicine, but I don't know.
well,
I'm getting riled up again. Ah!
I think one thing that, the anecdote from our Discord does say is that sometimes people just, we are so concerned about having to now identify what's AI that we can't actually fact check things. I'm sure that if our Discord member said to this person, "Hey, it is just a map of Italy," and they compared it to northern Italy and found that it was just northern Italy, they would have changed their tune immediately. AI is not good at drawing maps of real places. But also, I see personally in my own life, like Pinterest is now flooded with AI just slop, as you said. And so I will be like, that's a really cool thing. Oh, it's AI generated. And so it it's hard because you have to market yourself against all this AI stuff. And the AI just keeps getting better. And if it's just a thumbnail, it doesn't look like it. And when you open the image, you can automatically see it. I know that for a long time, one of the best ways to tell if something was AI generated was if it had the artist's signature. But it was all scrambled, or you'd find pieces with multiple watermarks of different artists because the AI was just saying, "Oh, art pieces must have some sort of, signature," but it doesn't know where to put it. But now that's starting to get better. And so, we have to constantly be on the hunt for something that's not AI, to the point where you have to be like judgmental in that way, which is hard because you don't want to be that way and then put your own stuff out and have people scrutinize you for tracing northern Italy.
I think from a marketing standpoint, the way that from like an individual marketing standpoint, because I think there's like a bigger thing that in general we have been talking about. Um, it's basically kind of like what Sabrina said before. When you're putting fiction and nonfiction, but a lot of the time, like nonfiction, if it's just like objective, um, advice. I was about to ask you for something in Spanish, Sabrina, because I forgot the word. Objective advice over something. Sometimes you don't want to put your personal experience because you're trying to be objective, but mostly fiction and like I don't know, biographies and stuff. People put a piece of their souls out there, and I think we have been in the but more, especially right now with the whole AI thing. Uh, arrive officially to the era of highlighting every single aspect of human creativity, not only the product, but the actual process too. The way that I have connected with authors and small business owners that are like very interlinked with the publishing industry and with books and everything is because I have found them because of their story, because of the passion that they communicate through everything that they say, because they share their struggles and their victories, and they share, most importantly, what doing this means to them. And it's something that, I don't know, whatever Randall the fuck churns out 7,100 million books with AI is not going to talk about because there was not soul involved on it. There was not real passion. Again, what Sabrina said, she was mentioning me when it said like writing out of personal experience because that is the type of writing that I do. And then most of the way that I express myself in social media is wow, like this shit that happened in my life. I am just realizing after 4 years of writing it that it was more fucked up than what I thought originally. And it's something that people have connected with the book through it. and reached out to me, and they're like, please tell me when it's going to be out because I want to read it, because I relate to that experience. And instead of just like having like a quick pretty cover and be like, hey, read it, read it, read it, because that's marketing that everyone could do even if they didn't write the book. But not everyone can be like, this is the exact missing piece of my soul that I took out of it and I put in this book. And we need to start marketing ourselves more like that. That is, I think, the best way to have people understand that this has human creativity involved.
I don't know how to
Like,
follow up on that. That was
Yeah,
very
that
well
was
said.
beautiful.
I told you guys I was very passionate today. I'm about to cry again. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize for being so passionate you want to cry about something. That's something a lot of people aim for, to have that much
It
like
is an actual problem that I talk about in creativity in therapy. See, I cannot speak in therapy almost every week.
I feel like
But then
I feel like crying is a very common theme on this podcast.
I always cry. I cry almost every day.
no, I think that the way that you market yourself is so genuine that it couldn't be mistaken for AI. Because AI is going to do, oh, I'm going to cry over this as a haha funny, not as a genuine I care about this. And I think that, you know, you don't even have to make an anti-AI stance to be anti-AI in your marketing. And being genuinely passionate about what you do can really help with that.
Yeah.
Agreed. So let me just, I'm gonna throw this out there because I was reading something about it the other day. Um, so James Earl Jones passed away last year, year before. If you are unaware of this, he voices Darth Vader, one of the most iconic villains of all time. He signed his voice rights over to Disney to use basically Gen AI to voice Darth Vader for years to come. Where does that fall in this? Like, is because the artist has signed off on it, is that more okay? I'm not gonna say anything that Disney ever does is okay, but is it more about who's using it and how they're using it versus what the end result is?
I mean, in that case, it sounds like there was consent and that it was credited, and presumably that like his he got some sort of deal with
Yeah,
Disney, or perhaps his family did, as a result of
yeah. I
being able to use his voice,
I believe
right?
he signed it over like a year or two before he passed, and basically, I assume he just wanted to set up the next seven generations of his family because I am
Right.
willing to bet that Disney paid a lot of money for the voice of Darth Vader.
So, like, in that case, I would say that all of the things that I was talking about earlier about the issues with Gen AI have been addressed. The only one that's kind of outstanding is the environmental impact for me. Um, but it sounds like a very consensual deal. Everyone knows that's the voice of James Earl Jones, and it was something he 100% signed off on. So that doesn't feel as much like an issue to me personally. That seems like the closest that we have of a recent example of AI being used for good, or at least for something that's respecting of the artist who is being based on, you know?
Yeah. As a
Yeah,
Star
and I
Wars
think
fan,
it's
I like the outcome of it, but
Mhm.
as a creative, I had questions.
Yeah, I think also the consent given is extremely important. As someone who is in many communities where consent for various things is extremely important to people, um, the fact that he gave like written consent and everything was consented upon makes it not really stealing. It's like, yeah, I gave you permission to do this and whatever is in the contract only. If Disney starts to break that contract, then I think there's a problem. But if
No,
they
they would
stick
never.
to they would never. But like, it's important that if the wishes are followed properly, then this is done ethically. I don't know if it's a perfect solution, but it definitely is kind of like the best outcome because the artist said, I'm okay with this. Please continue. And no one stole it. No one did it without
And
permission.
I think it's very important to differentiate that from like an audiobook narrator because this
Mhm.
voice is so associated with his character. Like Darth Vader is nothing without his voice. So
Yes.
it's not that you are just creating a voice to read a book or something like that. You are this is the character.
Mhm.
So I think it's definitely not even I don't even think it's like apples to oranges, but I don't know. I was just curious people's thoughts.
No, because I think whenever I hear anything narrated by AI, everything's wrong about it. But I think if, you know, I know enough about Star Wars, but I'm not like the biggest fan. But I think if I heard Darth Vader's voice and it wasn't Darth Vader's voice, I'd be a little weirded out.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is, like you said, kind of the best case scenario. But I also wouldn't want Disney to start narrating audiobooks with
Hmm.
Darth Vader's voice.
Yeah.
I think it has a very specific purpose and it
Yeah.
should stick to a specific purpose.
And they've actually done that. They did have some shows where it wasn't James Earl Jones doing Vader's voice, and you could tell. And then their audiobooks, God, I should know this guy's name because I've listened to a ton of the audiobooks. He's so good. I think it was Mark. I'll say Mark Harmon, but that doesn't sound right. Like he could nail every Star Wars character's voice, and he actually does a good Vader too. So it might have actually been him, but it's just not the same. Like that imposing presence, the helmet, the cape, the lights, like it's just not the same without James Earl Jones. One thing I would like to dive back to, I guess rewind, however you want to say it. Sabrina, you'd mentioned the environmental impact of AI, and I don't have a lot of the facts. Can you at least speak generally to that? Because I'm certain you probably also don't have the facts in front of you. But I know that is a major concern that people have.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not the best person to ask about this because when I talk about environmental impact things, I want to have like three or
Okay.
four different scholarly articles in front of me. I will tell you what I remember of the research that I've done in the past. Um, from what I understand, the process of running and generating the machines used for AI consumes a lot of water. And I believe the reason it consumes a lot of water is because of the heating and the cooling. Something about the way that the machines run is very, very hot. And in order to cool it down, you have to use water or some kind of a system to collect and capture the heat or disperse it. The issue with it is that as tight as you can make the system, some of the steam is still lost, which means that for the often cited phrase that I don't know if it's true is that you lose, I think Rosetta said it earlier, like a few gallons of water for every search or a few bottles or something along those lines.
I th I think, and Rosetta, correct me if I'm wrong, or Beaches, correct me if I'm wrong if you know otherwise. I think it probably depends on the search that you do or the prompt
Oh,
that you put in.
100%. It's
Because I
not as
assume
Yeah.
eye-catching and
Yeah.
fear-mongering if you
this is
actually
true.
give the specifics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But no,
but
I think the more you ask of the AI, the more it's going to use.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
And
think
to
in
me,
general,
And I mean, isn't Facebook opening up like they bought like a closed nuclear power plant to power their AI like somewhere over in New York State? It's
wow.
like, get out of here. I don't want your stupid little AI summaries of posts. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm interested in posts, I'm gonna read it. Like, I mean, that just kind of goes back to the whole like AI isn't everything. Like, I don't need Meta to read my post. Like, I'm not here to read a post. I don't need you to read me the post that I am here to
Oh
read.
my God, like the YouTube summarizer for videos is like,
Oh yeah.
this is my entertainment. Why do
yeah,
you want to take away from my happy moment of me listening to a 45-minute StoryForge podcast while I do the dishes? I want to listen to the whole thing. I want the banter. I want the people talking.
see AI summaries. So I watch a YouTube channel called Drawfee, and they draw silly, art based on silly prompts they get from their community,
Hmm.
and that's their entire bit. They're great. I love them, but I've gotten AI summary, like beta AI summaries of their videos, and the AI has no clue what's happening because it sounds like a podcast, but it looks not like a podcast. And, they're drawing weird things and, like the AI doesn't know how to describe a long horse and why it's called that. And, so it gives me this garble of a couple of artists draw a long horse. And I'm like, okay, um, well, that's definitely not all they did this episode. And so there is certain types of content that AI just cannot process. And I hope it never processes it because I don't want it to streamline my experience. I'm here to watch four artists be silly goofy. Don't spoil the episode for me.
Yeah, like if you're going to watch a video about drawing, like what is the point of that summary? Like it's not going to like show you the end result. Like you were here to watch the process. Like it's and I don't remember if we said this earlier or not. I think the bigger problem is the people who are using AI and installing AI and people are just using it for stupid things that they don't need to use it for. Like
Yeah.
who needs a summary of a drawing video? Like I'm here to learn how to draw or to watch you draw. I don't need to know that they drew a long horse. That gives me nothing.
It's
When it
like
comes, oh, go ahead.
the process of how these people get to what they draw is also part of the journey, like, because it's literally just four professional artists goofing around and having fun, and the AI will never be able to summarize the jokes, how much fun these people are having. It can't capture the human spirit of this story. And the times that they've made anything, AI has been, oh, we're gonna make this better, or oh, look at AI's being stupid with like Shrek getting in a car crash or something. We're gonna make this funnier and better. And they just punch AI in the face. And I'm like, AI just doesn't have that human creativity. And so AI summarizing their videos is just like, you're missing the whole point.
Yeah. I mean, Tim, back to the environmental impact question, I have a lot more confidence in the AI bros and the people who are at the head of AI, like generation and promotion and all of that, to address the inefficiencies of AI in terms of losing water, using resources, all of this stuff in a quick manner. I have a lot more confidence that they'll do that quickly than I do that they'll revise their practices to be more ethical
Yeah,
when it comes to the artists. So
Well,
that's so true.
there's no profit
it
in
may
that. There's profit in making it more efficient.
exactly
Yeah.
there is profit in making more efficient, and there's not that much profit in crediting and collaborating with the artists that
And
you're
it's
mining
obviously
data
not
from.
something that they care about anymore because if they cared about respecting people in the first place, they wouldn't be doing. See, I'm getting fired up, guys. I'm sorry.
This has been a
Um,
very cynical podcast. It's a good one.
yeah, yeah, it has been.
I have contained myself for so long, I just can't anymore. I have to show my true face!
Go off. This is the place to do it.
Yeah, I'll let out anything real bad, but no. Um, yeah, I think any kind of final thoughts on anything Gen AI related?
Mm, my final thought would be that I don't think the technology itself is bad. That might be kind of a hot take. I think it's really cool. I think it has a lot of really cool potential. The problem with AI is the fact that it's profiting off of people who have worked their lifetime to create beautiful art, and they're not being used, their work is not being used with their consent. They're not getting credit for the work that was used, and they're not profiting off of any of the skills that they've provided to train the AI. Like, the tech is cool, and I have high confidence that the environmental stuff will be quickly improved upon so that it's more like efficient and sustainable. But the real problem in my mind is the artists who are being stolen from in order to create profit for AI and the people at the companies who are promoting it.
And I think like we were hating on the AI fridge earlier. But as a concept, if a bunch of chefs got together and trained this fridge to look at the ingredients in it and give you recipes on it, and everything was cool and consensual, that's genuinely interesting. As someone who doesn't really know how to cook, but being told what I could do, exactly what was like with exactly what was in my fridge, that'd be great. But I'm not going to buy the AI fridge because I know that that information probably has been stolen. And these are creators who aren't going to get credit for their recipes. But like the concept itself actually seems kind of useful for people who don't know how to cook.
Beatrice?
I have a very similar output opinion to what Sabrina said, that I believe that the technology itself is not bad, and people demonizing that the technology itself is actually not beneficial to us, because the people that should be demonized are the people that are stealing and profiting off of people's works, and that takes the guilt away from them who are the actual evildoers, and they're the actual ones that are disrespecting people's years of work. See, I'm going again. And so we should stop witch hunting, start learning more, start trying to get ourselves educated, stop accusing a machine that just gathers data that doesn't have any sentience of the evil things, instead of actually pointing fingers to the actual people that are the ones that chose to unethically steal from people's work, and little by little start talking about it with the people that we know, like the Rosetta example with her parents, or like me, that my dad the other day was like, it's crazy, there's pyramids on Mars. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy how computer generated images now look so real that it makes you believe that there's pyramids on Mars. And just kind of like, and not enhance, that's not the word, exalt, uh I don't know the word, like, continue giving human creativity and human spirit and art that is filled with the human experience, uh the respect and the position and the praise and the love that it deserves. And also, this is like, I think, one of my favorite quotes that I have seen in regards of AI. That's something like, I want AI to do my laundry,
Mm-hmm.
not my fun.
Yeah, that's basically my take. I think generative AI and AI in general is honestly kind of cool, but we are applying it to the wrong industry. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be in a place where by being able to write or draw or paint or whatever artistic form you have, you become special. Um, Generative AI basically diminishes that human talent. AI should be used to like review my medical charts and be like, hey, you are on the path for prostate cancer by the time you're 65. You should probably start getting checked for that. Like that's where we should be using. Like, I don't need it in reading. I don't need it in writing. I don't need it on my social media. Like let's use, if we're gonna use this technology, use it for something good. Like help us live longer.
Mm-hmm.
I
Help
mean,
me with my taxes or
yeah,
Yeah,
help
something.
me
yeah,
with
yeah.
my taxes.
Well, and I
Oh
even
my
think that
God, we would have put all the effort that was put into stealing people's art into doing our taxes.
yeah. Well, and
Ah!
I think even like so I go to websites and they have like those Gen AI like chatbots
Mhm.
to tell me things that take so much time. Like uh it cuts so much time out of somebody else's day who would have to sit there in the chat and answer like basic questions like where do I find this thing or
Mhm.
where do I find that thing. And as much as I don't love chatbots, I feel like in that very basic sense of it being able to give me a directory of the website rather than a human having to sit at their desk bored all day and direct those things, AI can be great for that Because if I'm like, hey, I can't find your policy on, I don't know, returns, the bot at Walmart can tell me where it is. And then a human doesn't have to spend their time repeating that to 50 people every single day. But as soon as the chatbot is going too far and like trying to create something that's outside of its basic programming, then I think it's an issue.
Yeah, as soon as the chatbot tries to do actual troubleshooting, that's where you run into the problem. Like that needs to be done by a person. As someone who's done tech support before, yes, please, yes, give them the links that they want. When they have an actual issue, then I will help them.
Yeah. And
Um,
my other problem is that a lot of these AI chatbots really want you to stay with the AI chatbot when you just tell it I want a human.
mhm.
Same with like phone mazes, as my mother likes to call them. When you call the pharmacy and you don't get a human the first time and you have to say, just give me to a pharmacist, then you tell it again, just give me to a pharmacist. It's like, no, if when I tell you, robot, to give me to a human, you give me to a human. And I hate the AI chatbots that are like, no, stay with me. No, stay with me. And it's like, no, there is a point when a human needs to be involved. And I think a chatbot or a program that understands when a human needs to be involved is very extremely important. And I appreciate those programs more than like, stay with me, stay with your cute little robot
Hmm.
friend who's really, really cute in the corner of your screen, but really can't give you any help.
Agreed. Any last thoughts?
Human
Join
crafted.
StoryForge.
Woo!
Yeah,
Get on StoryForge. It's really
yeah.
cool.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up. That's our show, and we will see you at the Forge.
Yay!
Bye.